When you're feeling down and like your world's moving slow, just remember your race. It moves at your pace when marching towards your goals. And brighter than the stars. Don't take impossible. Nothing is impossible. You're brighter than the stars. An angel, 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 soaring like an eagle, eagle, eagle. Nothing is impossible. Don't take impossible. You're brighter than the stars.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of Talking with 3D right here on Plush Work TV. Listen, before we even get into this interview, do me a big favor. Make sure that you click this video, click it, like it, love it, share it. Make sure that everybody is watching Talking with 3D. You can also watch us on Instagram. You can follow us also on YouTube. So please make sure that everybody's watching us. My name is Derek Darrell Dixon, if you didn't know, and I am your host this evening. So we have two exciting guests with me today, and I am so excited to interview them. It's such a pleasure to know Abu, Arissa. Thank you for joining me also this evening. So how are you both doing? Thank you for coming on Talking with 3D.
Oh, we're doing amazing.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to share.
Yes, yes. So we're here today. We want to talk about mental health and mentorship and how it does involve our community, how it involves, our family members, because mental health is something that a lot of times we're so afraid to talk about. Some things that we don't want to actually, admit that it's in our family. It's something that may be something going on with us. So therefore, for us to be able to address issues and to be able to talk about it and freely understand what does it really mean about mental health. There was an incident, and I know a lot of us, we're tired of talking about it, but at the Oscars, there was an episode where Will Smith got up, went on stage, and he slapped Chris Rock, went back to his seat, and then just started to explode. The explosion actually started when he walked onto the stage. So a lot of us want to know, was it a mental breakdown? Is it something that he was going through? Not, could it be through the marriage? Could it be something more than just what Chris Rock said? Is it more that we know about? But when we look at it because it's Will Smith. But it could be something that mentally he's going through. It could be something, mentally that he doesn't even know that he's aware of that he's going through. So these are the things that we have to be able to discuss and not always think because it's someone that has a title that, they're exempt from having these type of issues that are what people may say it's normal for us, but no, it's not normal for them. So we want to discuss that and talk about it. Let me talk a little bit about Abu. He's a successful entrepreneur right here in Maryland. Also, he has attended Compton State University, Morgan State University. He began a business in pursuits which span across the automobile industry, also real estate development and credit service, among others. It's also a business model emphasis hiring from the communities that he services. Currently, Abu has a focus on mentorship, mental health resources, employment opportunities through the nonprofit sector, release community outreach. Also, we have Arissa Dorsey. Arissa Dorsey is the mental health professional specializing in psychiatric rehabilitation, group sessions, and life coach in Maryland. Arissa also has a bachelor in science degree with a dual focus on psychology and sociology from Stevenson University, specializing in adults for over 20s. Arissa has a passion for uplifting communities with mental health resources, professional development, and support through her latest venture, Release Health Services, which provides mental health services and support. So again, welcome Arissa and Abu.
Thank
So
you.
Appreciate
listen.
the introduction. Thank you. You make me feel so accomplished. I've done so much.
You are, listen, you are. And that's what we are here on Talking with 3D, because it's real talk for real people. And it's,
Real talk.
you know, my job is to, you know, we have to get the information out to the community. There's so many times that, especially in the Black and Brown community, that we are afraid to share this information. And we have to create this atmosphere that we're able to talk about it, you know?
That's right.
So we may not all have this type of platform, but the fact is that we're starting a dialogue. So now people know, hey, that's Arissa, that's Abu. Can I sit and can I talk to y'all? Can I, you know, and they feel free now because now they can put a face with it.
That's right.
So Arissa, let's expand a little bit more on the mental health side of things. You know, I'm raising a son he's on the autism spectrum. And a lot of times people always say, oh, he has a mental disability. And I always tell people he doesn't have a mental disability. It's just the fact that he learns a little different than others. But I always try to put it, separate it from a mental disability. So when we do say mental health, what does that actually mean? Who does that actually target?
So whenever we're talking about any type of mental health functionality, we're basically talking about, do you have the regulatory systems in place? Do you have the effective coping skills and mechanisms to be able to regulate your mood? And so there are many ways in which a clinician would be able to decide whether or not that is actually a mental health diagnosis, right? But most of the time, it basically focuses on your functionality. Do you have some type of mental health issue that is impeding your daily functionality? Are you sleeping? Are you able to regulate your emotions? Are you having anger outbursts, right? And depending on the culture that we are embedded in, will also determine, okay, is this enough to really say whether or not I have a diagnosis? And based on those diagnoses, I know you brought up, you know, Will Smith and others that have seemingly had anger outbursts or emotional outbursts in the public spectrum, right? Even we see it every day on the internet, right? On Instagram and Facebook. Everything is recorded now, right? Everyone is always pulling out their camera phone.
Right.
And so I think that it's important that we are having these discussions, as you mentioned, because it gives us an open opportunity to create these safe spaces. But back to my original point, there's only one way to find out whether or not you actually have a mental health diagnosis, and clinicians, of course, use what we call the psychological Bible, which is the DSM-5. And based on that, it shows a myriad of mental health issues, and each mental health issue is literally itemized, right? Are you able to do this? Are you able to do that? If so, if you're having these type of impairments, how often, how frequently are they occurring, right? So it's so much more to therapy and mental health than just saying, oh, that person has this or that person has that. And, you know, oftentimes we will say, oh, I'm just ODD, or I just have anger issues, you know, anger management issues. And it becomes a part of our vernacular so much that, you know, people have just kind of accepted, oh, she's bipolar, right? But no, these are actual medical diagnosis, right, that we can actually empirically look at to determine whether or not someone actually has a mental health diagnosis.
Wow. Now see that right there, and then it makes you want to pull out a pen and a pad to be like, okay, let me start checking some things off to see could I possibly, because the fact that, you know, like you're saying, we do call it OCD, you know, or you can't sleep at night, and you're trying to figure out, why can't I sleep at night? Why can't I do this? Why can't I focus? So there's a lot of things that you have to understand that you've got to wade through to see what is causing this. What is the psyche that I'm going through that I can't process? And a lot of times we don't want to admit that we're going through some mental issues in our life, especially in the Black community. We are told we don't discuss those things.
Oh yeah.
We don't see psychiatrists. You know, we're supposed to go to the church. And ain't nothing wrong with going to the church. You know, I believe in prayer and all that. I'm truly, but we believe take it to the church. But a lot of times, if you don't even understand why you even taking it to the church and really dealing with what's going on here, then you're messed up. You're truly messed up.
And thank you for saying that, because oftentimes we have to identify the onset, what we call the onset. When did it first begin, right? When did you start having a depressed mood? When did you lose your appetite, right? When did you lose, your zeal for life? And oftentimes that's a part of the assessment process, right? When we're trying to determine, okay, is it situational? For example, did someone very close to me just pass away and I need to go through some type of grief counseling? Or is this much deeper? Is it much, embedded in my childhood trauma? So those are the things that a clinician can guide you through in the assessment process to be able to direct you. And I'm glad that you brought that point up with psychiatrists. As you know, psychiatrists prescribe medicine, right?
Yes.
They are a medical doctor and they are licensed to be able to prescribe psychotropic medicine, right? So any type of anxiety medications or depression medications, right? Things that actually deal with the chemistry in the brain. And so one thing I like to tell my clients is that you don't have to have medication be a part of your treatment plan.
Right.
Because any good clinician wants to involve the client in determining what they want to do for their process. So for example, therapy obviously is a great way to start, right? So you go in, you meet with the clinician, you may identify, I'm having a really hard time, I can't seem to quote unquote snap out of it, right? I think I need to see someone. Or maybe a loved one, if maybe you have a supportive loved one says, listen, I really think, it's been 6 months, maybe we should sit down and talk to someone, right? But oftentimes what we see is a crisis develops, right? Something happens, right? There's an emotional outburst, an anger outburst, right? You lose your house, because you can't get out of the bed and you can't go to work, right? Oftentimes something dramatic or chaotic happens where people have no choice but to get help in order to move forward. So a part of our process is, like you said, destigmatizing the fact that, yes, everyone needs help, right? Everyone needs a supportive person.
Right.
But therapy is so important because it's the next step to just calling up a friend, right? It is a process by which, a scientific process by which we can determine whether or not you are having emotional needs that need a little bit more management. And a therapist helps you with the management of that psychological symptom.
Got you. So, Abu, you work with the Release Community Outreach.
Yeah.
So with the Release Community Outreach, who does that affect? What does that look like for the community?
Well, first, what I would like to do is I would like to kind of explain how I got to even coming up with this concept and this idea.
Okay.
So I want you and the listeners to kind of know my story, because it'll kind of tie in to the community outreach. It'll also tie into what me and Arissa are doing together, because she is my partner. But just to kind of go back into my background, I came up in a very structured household, two parents, they both working class parents, sent me to private school my entire life, and went to Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. And the community that I was brought up in is called Emerson Village. And the area that I was raised in, the community was homeowners. There was really not much drug activity going on in the community. And around 88, between 88 and 90,
hey, wait till I help you.
Between 88 and 90, the drugs came into the community. And when it came into the community, I literally watched the entire community shift, right? And when it shifted, it went from me and my friends playing dodgeball and foursquare and double dutch, right? To now these same friends selling drugs on the corner, right? So for me, I got swept into that whole life. I watched all my friends get swept into that whole life, right? And we all just went down a negative path from there, right? Okay. So in that, it took me to a life of crime. Even though I went to college, I worked jobs, you know, because I still kind of had that balance because of my parents, you
Right.
know. But at the same time, I was watching my peers at the time. They didn't have the same structure that I had, you know.
Right.
So when it came time for me to kind of realize that it's time for me to make a change, I had that core structure to kind of pull from in order to pull myself together. My friends didn't. They didn't
Right.
have it, you know. So, you know, what I realized, because I did end up going to prison, and while I'm in there, I'm seeing the need for mental health like everywhere, right? And I'm
Right.
saying to myself while I'm in there, at this particular time, I'm not involved with mental health at all.
Right.
But I'm seeing guys that clearly have mental issues. And I'm saying to myself, wow, this guy needed some help. You know what I mean? He shouldn't even be in here. Like, what is
Right.
going on, you know? And then when I came home, I'm saying to myself, nobody advised me to talk to a therapist. You know, they gave me a plan to
Right.
come home and probation. They want you to do this. They talking to you like you're still in prison. Get a job. They don't want to help you get a job. They just telling you to get a job. You don't find a job within 3 months, we sending you back to prison. I'm like, wow, hold up. Nobody's gonna advise me to get some help, to talk to somebody for what I just experienced for these 5 years I've been
Right.
away, right?
Right.
So nobody that's going in the system is getting help, right? The guys that's, while we're inside, we're not getting that therapy.
Right.
And when we come out, we're not getting therapy. So that's what led me to this place of, you know, wanting to reduce recidivism, right? Because a lot of my friends, I see them come home, they go right back in, right? They're not getting the help that they need.
Right.
They don't even want to talk to anybody. You know what I'm saying? So it seems like it's easier for them to hear it come from someone like me, right? Like, listen, brother, I did it.
Right.
I went and talked to a therapist. It helped me. Matter of fact,
Right.
me and my woman, my fiance, we have a business, right, that can help you with that. So that's become my passion at this point, you know, because I see the need. I don't think a lot of people is seeing that part of the need.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so that's how that was birthed, right? So with that, I understand that in addition to the mental health, the guys also need a network where they can try to, you know, get training, you know, different trades, jobs. So I've networked with different companies, different organizations that have access to employment to make sure that when these guys come home, you know, they know that they can reach out to me, they can reach out to Arissa, and we can connect them to, you know, trade schools, different trade programs, and jobs as well. You know, I have a database. You know, I get the information that's coming in daily for job opportunities. So, you know, we offer that, and then we also offer the mental health as well. So that's how that came about. You know, so we have the Release Community Outreach, and we have the Release Health Services. She had already specialized in it. She's been in the industry for 20 years. You know, so it was just a match made in heaven.
So listen, we're going to take a quick break because I want to come back and I want to talk to you more about, you know, the resources and the fact how a lot of people that do get out of the system. You know, I have a family member that got out of the system that doesn't trust when they get out of the system. They don't believe, and they don't believe in even family anymore. That family can help them, or anyone believes in them anymore. So we're going to take a quick break. I want to talk a little bit more about that. So ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Talking with 3D. I'm here with Abu and Arissa. This is Real Talk for Real People. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We have to talk about it. Mental illness. It's serious. We have to talk about it in our homes, in our schools, in our churches, because it's something that over 50 million Americans nationwide suffer with. 4.91% suffer with severe mental illness. But you can get the help that you need today by calling 988. Someone's willing and waiting to speak with you. But before you do, let us let you know that we care about you. We love you. But most of all, we need you. And if you know someone that is suffering with mental illness, grab them, hold them, let them know that you love them. for you.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are back. You are watching Talking with 3D. I am here with Abu and Arissa. I'm now going to be calling them the power couple of Baltimore, Maryland, because they are here making a difference in the community and making some changes, some positive changes. And that's what we need. You know, there's a lot of people out there that say they're going to do something or that they need to make change, and they try to blame it on politicians and they try to blame it on everybody else. But here is our power couple that is out here, you know, that have the experience to have been through some things and know what is needed and how they can go in there and make that change. And, you know, Abu, with your experiences, thank you so much for being vulnerable, first off, and telling us, you know, what you've been through, because that's the first step. Because people want to hear, you know, I have not had that experience. So for me to say, hey, you need to do this, A, B, and C, you ain't been through what I've been through. You ain't been on drugs. You haven't been an alcoholic. So how can you tell me, you know, and I always have been like that. I can't, you know, I can try to guide you. Hopefully I can get you to someone that can get you some help. But here is someone, you know, ladies and gentlemen, that you are hearing. And another thing I want you to say is that, oh, because he's been through it, now he thinks he know everything. You know, that's another side that people go through. So, you know, Abu, how do we get our men and our women to retrust? Because that's a part of the mental issue that they go through. How do we get them to retrust society?
That's a good question. And the answer to that is the people who have gone through it have to step up and take on the responsibility to reach back and pull the people back, right? Because, you know, we have our own language. Right. We have our own culture. So when someone who has been to prison, right, when they talk to me, they know, oh, he been where I've been. I know the language. I can speak it, like, you know, from A to Z, I can speak it. And they know that I'm real about it. You know, I'm not doing this for show, you know, and I have a group of guys with me. It's not just me. You know, I like to call them ambassadors, but these are my brothers. So all of my brothers, you know, we like to call out, let me not give myself a title, right? Let me not do that. Let me not do that. But the guys that come from the street, they respect those who they consider to be OGs, right? So the OGs are the ones who have been through this, right? Okay. Older guys, they've experienced it. We're no longer living that life anymore, right? It's our responsibility, because the younger generation, they will listen to us. Right? They will listen to us. They listening to us to either do the right thing or the wrong thing. We have the power to influence. I've influenced guys my entire life to do the wrong thing. I've also influenced to do the right thing. So I know that God has blessed me to be a leader in that regard. So I understand what my power is. I know what my gift is. So I don't have a choice in this matter. So there's other guys like me, right? We recognize each other when we see each other. We know. So they understand what I'm trying to do as well. So I'll pull them up and I let them know. I said, listen, this is what I'm doing. And they write on whatever you need me to do, whatever you need me to do. And I know that these are the guys who have the voice and they'll have the ear to the people who need to hear it. You know what I'm saying? So if there's anybody that you may have, a relative, if you get me on the phone with them, let me talk to them. I'll pull up on them. They're going to know. And then I'll bring them around my guys. They're going to know. I'm around some real men right here. They want to feel that they're around real men. And that's what you're going to get. But the wisdom that we're going to give you is like, listen, we've been there. That's not where it's at. You see what we doing, we all successful. My guys got trucking companies. My guys got real estate companies. I got guys that's in the mental health. I got guys that's in so many different things that have been what you would call successful on both sides. We've been successful on what you're doing. And I'm telling you where it leads. It leads you here or here, prison or death. So would you rather live, go to prison, or die? I'm giving you the option to live. And this is what you got to do. We have the blueprint for it because 50 to 60 years old. We've done it already.
That's
There's
right.
nothing new going on. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we have to do. We have to speak to the people who need the information, right? So in me structuring the program to, once I get them in, the program is structured for them. When you come in, you coming in and you talking to other guys. We're gonna keep you with us, and we're gonna have a list of job opportunities for you. You don't have to go out there and just be beating the pavement trying to find a job. I have maybe 10 companies right now that's hiring people that's felon right now. I'm not talking about small companies. I'm talking about Coca-Cola, H&S Bakery, Fritos, all of these companies. And I have direct links, direct emails, people to contact. You understand? So when they come, you say, look, this is what we have for you. Whenever you feeling what we call that itch, because that's what we call it, it's an itch. When you come home and you've been a guy that's been in the street or whatever it was, you get an itch. Even if you was a guy that was getting high, it's still an itch, right? When you get the itch, you call one of us. Call one of us. Don't just sit with it because we understand.
Right.
I tell them all, call me. If you're thinking about going back to that old life, call me. I'm going to talk to you, and I'm not going to talk down on you because I understand the itch. I get it, brother.
Right. Wow.
But this is what you need to do. I'm telling you, just stick with me. Matter of fact, where you at? I'm going to pull up on you right now. I'm going to come get you. We're going to ride. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying when I say the language and the culture. There is a language and a culture that we all understand. So if someone that does not speak the language tries to communicate with them, they're not going to hear it.
That's right.
It's not even going to resonate. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, if there's any of your listeners that have a family member, anybody, I mean, most families have someone that's either in prison right now or on probation right now, have been to prison and off probation, but they got a felony and they can't get a good job or whatever. I mean,
and we all have a family member that even if you haven't been there, that you have the I had to say the tendencies, but you have characteristics of headed that way.
Correct. We want to catch them too, though.
We want to catch them too.
I don't want to wait until they went in and they come home. I want to catch them too.
Yes, we have to get them before. So let me ask you this. We have a lot of parents that have children that deal with a lot of mental issues. And the parents don't have the support that they need in order to help their children. And I see this a lot where our especially our mothers, because a lot of times, and it's sad to say, but a lot of times our fathers have checked out and don't want to deal with the issue. And a mother is more of a nurturer, and she's going to do what she has to do for her children, regardless if it's a male or a female. How does that, and we're going to say mother and father, get the support that they need for their child that has some type of mental issue? And a lot of times they're in the school system and they do not know how to get the right services that they need for their child.
That is such an important question. I think it first starts with awareness, right? You have to get out of denial and recognize, okay, my child is having some difficulties and some challenges, right? I'm taking them to, the spiritual leaders, and we can't pray it away, I can't punish it away, and those are all important tools, right? However, it comes a time where you just have to acknowledge, okay, I'm not equipped to have, these discussions with my child. I don't even know where to begin. And I think that when we think about mental health, we need to look at it like how we would shop around for a car or we would shop around for a house. You also should research, right?
Yes.
Research, what are the programs that are working? What are some recommendations? Maybe a school counselor can give you a good recommendation. Every public school has a counselor, right? So maybe that would be a great place to start. Now, that doesn't mean that's where you should end, right?
Okay.
Because we know that there are a lot of challenges, even within our school system, and the way that our system oftentimes has been set up against, especially our Black boys, right, and our brown boys, because of white supremacy and all those other things, and I'll spare you the details, right? But we know that people do operate in this, what we call cultural bias, right?
Mm.
So even if you're trying to be neutral, even if you're trying to be open and inclusive of all people, we know that based on how you were raised and your exposure to certain situations, experiences, so on and so forth, everyone operates in this cultural bias. And it's
Right.
important that you have someone, especially with our Black and Brown children, that understand the dynamic of culture, right? And
Mm.
how that plays into the importance of some of the struggles
Mhm.
that some of our children might be facing. You
Right.
know, another person group may not necessarily be able to identify with our boys,
Mhm.
you
Right.
know, and so it's important to shop around for good mental health. Getting great recommendations is another
Mhm.
way. And also that stigma, here we go again, right? Accepting that, okay, my child may be having a problem, and that's okay.
Right.
And that's okay. And
Right.
I'm not equipped. So the same way if your child was diagnosed with cancer, you wouldn't say, oh no, my child doesn't have cancer. Would you know? You would take them to an oncologist.
That's
And it's
right.
the same approach. We should look at mental health in the same way.
That's
My
right.
child is sick anyway. Let me provide the support and the services
Mm.
so that they can get the help that they need.
Mm. Listen, we're going to take one more quick break and then we're going to be right back. We are here with Abu and Arissa, and we're talking about mental health issues and just the right way to go about getting the assistance and the help that we need. I want to come back, Arissa, and I want to talk a little bit more about being a life coach and what that means to people and how they can get the service that they need from a life coach. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. You are again watching Talking with 3D, because this is real talk for real people. We'll be right back.
Listen, I had to stop scratching everybody else's back because when mine itched, I had to back up against the wall. It's okay to say no. It's okay to put you first. No is the most powerful word as long as we use it in the right way. Not to harm, not to hurt, but to bring you up. Give you what you need, the strength and the power. It's okay to say no. Put you first. Love you first. It's all about you.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Once again, you are watching Talking with 3D. I am here with Abu and Arissa. Before we left, Arissa, I wanted to talk about what it is having a life coach. What is that experience about? And how is it differ from psychiatrist and life coach?
Mm. Good question,
Yeah, that's
man.
an awesome question.
Yeah.
So a life coach is basically a personal confidant, a
Mhm.
personal guide, and everyone's goals are different. So the ways in which you would hire a life coach, as we previously talked about in the last segment, you should shop around, right?
Okay.
You should get great recommendations. A lot of times, with the internet and people have websites, where they have testimonials and things like that. I found that in mental health, it's always best to go with word of mouth, right? So
Okay.
a lot of the clients that I help, I don't do any advertising. I guess it'll change now, but I don't do any advertising about my life coaching because life coaching is really a personal walk with your client. And the goals literally differ. I mean, they range from relationships, how can I be a better spouse? How can I be, attract the type of mate that I want, to education? What are some of the ways that I'm stuck, getting out of your way, right? So life coach really you can customize it to what you want it to be.
To do what you want it to work for you.
Yes, exactly.
So you have to customize it to work and make it be for your life benefits.
Yes, yes. And the difference between a life coach and a clinical therapist or a psychiatrist is it's basically, so if you're a life coach and you have not gone to school, you're not a licensed clinician, you cannot diagnose, right?
Okay.
So the life coach is not going through an assessment per se, a clinical assessment, I should say, right? They're not going through that saying, okay, what are the issues, what are the problems, and then clinically diagnosing you. But what a life coach will do is they will talk about, what are some of your goals? So So in the way that you would have therapeutic goals, you can have life coach goals as well. And like I said, they range from relationships to businesses, ways to lose weight. I mean, really the list just goes on and on and on.
Okay. So I do want to ask this, and because I know a lot of our listeners want to know, because I want to know. Because of course this is real talk for real people. So, you meet Abu, and this is not to put anybody on the spot or anything like this. But
no, this real talk. Come on with it. Come on. Come on.
We have to we have to get people to understand life and what people what they go through, how they manage, and relearning to trust people. So you meet Abu, you learn of his story, and Abu, how do you get Arissa to be able to trust you? Arissa, how do you get yourself to trust Abu and to say, you know what, he's not going to go back to doing what he did, and for Abu to say, Arissa, I'm not going back to doing what I did. So as a couple now, how do you work with each other? Because there has to be that mental with each other. Say, can I trust her? Can I trust him? Where do we go now as a couple for us to show the world that yes, we can, Abu, I can go through this in life and I don't have to be where I've been. So how do you do that as a couple now? And because there's a lot of people who've been through it.
Okay. You want me to take this?
Yeah, sure.
She tapped me on my leg, so I knew. So, I would say that for us, it started with love, right? Now we know at our age that love is not it's not going to conquer everything with a relationship. You need,
right.
And not at this big age, right? You need so much more than that, right? But it started with that. It started with a sincere, transparent conversation in the beginning. That's what that's what it was. Like when I met her, I gave her my whole story. I ain't leave anything out. Right. Gave it to her because I need you to know this is, this is part of my story. This is not who I am, though.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you want a person to be able to hear your story and see the real story. If you tell a person your story and they just highlighting the negative, right? They're not understanding that this is like really my testimony that I'm giving you. You know what I mean? Because I'm standing in front of you right now and I'm still here and I'm still, striving to be a positive man to affect change in my community. But my journey happened. This is what God wanted me to go through so that I can actually serve my purpose. So if I'm sharing that with somebody that I'm considering to be a mate, in order for them to be my mate and join me on that journey, they got to understand that that's what my calling was. You understand? Wow. So she understood that early on, right? And it's just the main thing that we do very well is communicate. We communicate. We have this other thing that we do where we are in constant competition of who is treating the other one better. Like, I think I'm up right now. I'm definitely up right now. Listen.
You winning.
Because her birthday was August the 9th.
Yes.
We're celebrating for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Right?
Hey.
So I'm winning right now. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm winning right now. But see.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
I know that's right. Arissa, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Just be like going, no, go on, go do another week. I'm gonna let you win this month.
But look, the secret, I think the secret is, as long as you're focusing on, trying to please your mate and, keep your mate happy and, showing up the way they need you to show up, then we're both doing that for one another. So I'm not concerned about what I'm getting because she's trying to overload me with what I need. I'm trying to overload her with what she needs.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we're never sitting back like.
It creates this cycle.
Yeah.
It creates this cycle of love and reciprocity.
Yes.
Right? when you're trying to outlove me and you're focused on your mate and your mate is focused on you, no one is ever lacking, right?
Right.
Because you both are pouring into each other.
Correct.
But
That's
the
right.
other side of that is what's in your cup, right?
Ah,
Because
come
if
on.
you're in a deficit, you can't pour into my cup because nothing is in you, right?
That's
And
right.
so it was important for me when I met Abu to see what is in his cup, right? He may have had a past where he poured all his goods out, right?
Right.
Made mistakes. However, when I met him, his cup, he had enough in his cup to pour into me, right?
Ah,
And
come
so
on now.
the transparency is important, right?
Yes.
The transparency is important. Open communication was top tier. But I also did a little research.
There you go.
I looked into his family. He comes from an amazing family.
Yes.
And this man loves his mama. Oh, he loves his
Yes,
mama.
he does.
Right? And so it's so important, things like that. This is for my women and just in general. Pay attention to that man's family, and his upbringing. As he already shared, he came from a really great family. Both of his parents have been married over 40 years, right?
I'm 48, so
yeah,
we're going on 51 years.
A
now.
long time. And so, you have to do a little bit of research, because you can't just, be blindsided. I'm in love. It's fine, but it's please.
That's
So
right.
you need something else that's going to, really steady you. You need a strong foundation. And that's something that we really invested in our relationship. We laid a really strong foundation. And so on those days where, it's not always sunshine and roses, we can really fall back on the foundation that we've laid. There are tenets in our relationship that we already know, like, I will never violate you in this way. These are the rules in our relationship. And here's another hack, lady. Let the man decide what the rules are in the relationship, and then you just decide whether or not that's going to work for you.
You're going to go along with those rules. That's right.
Yes. And so he's always led in that way, and it's worked out. So his past, yes, important, right? That's important, but more importantly, what are you doing from those lessons, right?
That's right.
And he's had fruit, as you heard in his bio. He's had many successful businesses, and that is long ago. Where
That's
he
right.
had, the incarceration and things that he's very transparent about, and that's one of the things I'm really proud of him for, because a lot of times, especially when I see my clients, they'll say, well, nobody is going through this. I'm like, people go through this all the time.
Every day.
I have clients that are, their predicament is much worse. And they'll say, really, Mr. Risk? And I'll say, yes, and you're doing great.
Every day.
So I think that this is such an important conversation. I'm so happy that, mental health awareness is becoming more of not just, keep it in the family thing. It's really becoming commonplace for people to say, oh, I talked to my therapist yesterday and she was really telling me, and I go see things online.
That's how important therapy is for the relationship.
Yeah, listen, it's like what Van Zandt said. That's my girl. She always says, you can't pour out of an empty glass, right?
That's right.
So whatever is inside your cup is for you. Anything that's coming out, that's the overflow, and that's what you can give to others. But you have to be whole. You have to be healthy in order to form a healthy relationship, right? So some of the things that are really important is, how do you argue? Do you fight fair? What do you do when you're angry? What do you do when you're under stress? What do you do when you're overwhelmed, right? And how do you process, and what are those coping skills, and what do they look like? And so if you don't have some of these things already in your tool belt, then a relationship, or at least a mature, healthy relationship, could be challenging. And so I think that it's important for us to not only talk about therapy as it pertains to when we're actually diagnosed with a mental health diagnosis like depression or anxiety. It's also important to just have a check-in, right? Just have someone, I just want to check in. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed today. I really would like us, especially people of color, to normalize that, right?
That's
just like we have a PCP, a physician, to have a therapist, like we have a dentist, like we have a religious leader. Like, yes, let's add that to the list of our support system.
That's right.
Definitely.
Well, listen, we are running out of time. I could be talking to y'all for another whole hour. I think that this conversation, once again, it is so much needed. And again, I thank you both for your transparency, and because people need to hear real people. And it's something that, you know, people always think I'm the only person going through this. And not that y'all are going through anything, but to hear people's stories. We have to be able to hear people's stories in order to have our testimonies. And I love the fact that, Abu, when you said this was supposed to happen, because if it wasn't supposed to happen, then you won't be able to go through what you know, do what you do today. Now, would we have wanted to go a different way? Well, of course. But you know, God does things for a reason.
That's right.
He does things for a reason. And I always tell people that even though I've been through so many things in my life and been, you know, molested as a child and things like that, it happened for a reason, because now it wouldn't have made up my character of who I am today. So I don't hang on to those things. What I've done is that I've learned to it so I can empower others.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
and what you are doing, Abu, is that whatever you've been through now, you can empower others. You know, Arissa, what you have now, you're able to empower others, empower couples, and bring in your wisdom to help people understand their journey through life. So we need people like you, and we appreciate you. Real quick, Abu, where can everybody find you?
Oh, they can find me at Instagram, Abu_the_CEO, or what we doing?
Or release.
Oh, release. I'm sorry. Instagram at release. Release RELEASE_HS. That's for the health services business. Yep.
Okay, and Arissa?
And then the outreach. And then the outreach at release.us.
Say it again.
Underscore.
Oh, and release.
At _US.
Thank you so much. Listen, thank you both again so much. Thank you for sharing your stories. And again, it's so much needed, as you were saying, Arissa, that it is so refreshing now that we are able to talk about mental health. We can step out of the, you know, the stigma that, you know, oh, we don't share this in the Black community. Yes, we can. And it's very well needed. And we should. And we need to teach our children that it's okay. Make sure, again, you shop around, make sure, because you have choices, make sure that you're making the right choices. Also make sure that when someone is pouring into your cup, they're pouring into your cup not empty. They gotta be pouring into your cup for the right reasons. So if they're not pouring into the right reasons, you don't need that cup. Let that cup go. Push that cup over to the side. Tell them to sip out of it on their own with their own straw. Don't put it in my cup. So
that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. This is Abu and Arissa. Arissa said she wasn't going to advertise, but after this, we're going to blow her up. I need y'all to contact Arissa, because she's going to get you on the right path. Yes. Say it again.
I can be found at Arissa Divine on Instagram.
Arissa Divine on Instagram. So we're going to make sure we blow up Arissa, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, this is Black Love. When's the date?
The date? Oh, you're going to find out. You're gonna get an invitation as soon as.
I'm gonna make sure I'm there. I'm gonna make sure I'm right there. I might even be doing. Look, we're gonna make this big. We're gonna do a red carpet affair there.
Oh yeah. It's coming sooner or later. I'm telling you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again. You are watching.
Thank you for having us.
Talking with 3D. My name is Derek Darrell Dixon. This is Abu and Arissa. Have a wonderful night. This is Real Talk for Real People. Have a great evening.
When you're feeling down and like your world's moving slow, just remember your race. It moves at your pace when marching towards your goals. And brighter than